So, you think you know California, beaches and Hollywood, tech money and gridlock, the whole sun-bleached postcard? But you have no idea that the ground under all of it is far older, far stranger, and far more restless than anything on the surface. There's a desert down there that keeps turning into a sea and drowning whole towns. There are mammoths that shrank to the size of ponies, trees that were already ancient when the pyramids were new, and a fault line quietly ripping the state in half. So here are 10 insane geography facts about ancient California that are either going to surprise you or unsettle you. Let's dive in. Fact 10. The desert that drowns. In the far southeast corner of the state sits one of the hottest, driest basins in North America. And over again, it has become a sea. When the Colorado River runs wild, it sometimes abandons its path to the Gulf of California and pours northwest into the Salton Trough instead, filling the desert with fresh water. The result was ancient Lake Cahuilla, a lake nearly 100 miles long, more than 300 feet deep, and 6 times the size of today's Salton Sea. It filled and dried at least 7 times in the last 2,000 years. Each cycle drowned the basin for decades, then vanished over 50 or 60 years of evaporation. Native peoples fished its shores, then watched it disappear. And you can still see the old water line etched across the mountains, hundreds of feet above the dry desert floor. Fact 9. The Ghost Lake. Just west of the Sierra once lay the largest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi, and almost no one alive has ever seen it. Tulare Lake covered as much as 700 to 1,000 square miles across the southern Central Valley, fed by rivers pouring off the mountains teeming with fish, turtles, and waterfowl. It supported one of the densest native populations anywhere north of Mexico. Then settlers diverted its rivers for farming, and by the 1920s the whole lake was simply gone, plowed under and turned into cropland. But it isn't dead. In the wettest years 1969, 1983, 1997, and again in 2023, the water comes back, reflooding fields and swallowing roads where a lake used to be. A body of water the size of a small sea, erased from the map and still trying to return. Fact 8. A lake in Death Valley. Badwater Basin is the lowest point in North America, 282 feet below sea level, and one of the hottest places on Earth. It is the last spot you'd ever expect to find a lake. But during the last ice age, this scorched trench held one. Lake Manly stretched around 80 to 100 miles long and up to 600 feet deep, filling the entire valley with cold water as glacial melt drained down from the mountains. When the climate warmed, it evaporated, leaving behind the blinding salt flats you see today, and it isn't entirely finished. In 2023 and 2024, rare desert storms briefly refilled a shallow version of it, and for a few weeks people were paddling kayaks across the floor of Death Valley. Fact 7. The island that was one. Around 13,000 years ago, a person died on what is now Santa Rosa Island off the southern coast. Their bones, the Arlington Springs remains, are the oldest directly dated human remains ever found in North America. But the California they knew looked nothing like today's. Sea level sat about 300 feet lower, and the 4 northern Channel Islands weren't islands at all. They were fused into a single giant landmass geologists call Santa Rosa, a lost super island that has since been drowned and broken apart by the rising ocean. Some of the oldest known Americans lived on a coastline that no longer exists. Fact 6. Mammoths the size of ponies. Those same islands hid something stranger. Full-sized Columbian mammoths, 14 feet tall and 10 tons, swam across the open channel from the mainland during the Ice Age. But an island only has so much food. Over generations, the trapped giants shrank, a process called island dwarfism, until they stood barely 5 feet at the shoulder and weighed 1/10 as much. This was Mammuthus exilis, the pygmy mammoth, and it existed nowhere else on the planet, a creature that arrived as a monster and evolved on California soil into something you could almost look in the eye. Quick thing before we keep going. The comments on these videos are the best part, so if I left out something wild about California, put it down there. I read them. And while you're thinking about it, a friend of mine wants a word. The man in the arena likes and subscribes, so don't be timid. Smash that subscribe button. By thunder. Now, where were we? Fact 5. The trap in the middle of the city. In the heart of Los Angeles, surrounded by traffic and skyscrapers, the ground still bleeds. Natural asphalt seeps up through the earth at La Brea, and it has been doing it for tens of thousands of years. For at least 50,000 years, that sticky tar has caught and swallowed anything unlucky enough to step in it, then preserved the bones perfectly. Dire wolves, Columbian mammoths, ancient bison, and the saber-toothed cat, now California's state fossil, have all been pulled from the pits by the millions. And it never stopped. The tar is still bubbling up between the museum and the sidewalk, still trapping pigeons and squirrels today, an ice-age death trap operating in the middle of a modern city. Fact 4. Older than the pyramids. High in the White Mountains on brutal, wind-scoured slopes where almost nothing survives, grow the oldest known living things on Earth. Great Basin bristlecone pines. One tree, named Methuselah, is roughly 4,250 years old, meaning it was already a mature tree before the first Egyptian pyramid was built. And here's the twist. These trees don't survive despite the harsh conditions. They survive because of them. The cold, the drought, and the starved soil force them to grow so slowly that their wood becomes dense as stone, resisting rot and insects for millennia. Some trees standing on those ridges today sprouted before writing was invented. Fact 3. The largest living things on Earth. A little lower on the western slopes of the Sierra stand giants of a different kind. Giant sequoias are not the tallest trees on the planet, but by sheer volume they are the largest living organisms that have ever existed. One of them, General Sherman, contains about 52,500 cubic feet of wood and has been growing for more than 2,200 years. And they grow wild in only a few dozen groves on this one mountain range, nowhere else in the world. They're survivors of a lineage that once spread across the continent, now clinging to a narrow band of California mountainside. Fact 2. The state is splitting in half. California isn't sitting still, it's being torn apart. The San Andreas Fault runs more than 800 miles up the state, and it marks the seam between two of the planet's great tectonic plates. Everything west of it, including Los Angeles and most of the coast, rides the Pacific Plate, grinding northwest at about 2 inches a year. That doesn't sound like much, but it never stops. In roughly 15 million years, Los Angeles will have slid north until it sits right beside San Francisco. The map you know is only a snapshot of a state in motion. Fact 1. California was never one place. We've been circling the real secret this whole time. The drowned lakes, the shrunken mammoths, the ancient trees, none of it is the strangest thing about this land. The strangest thing is the land itself. Because California wasn't born, it was assembled. For hundreds of millions of years, an ocean plate dove beneath the western edge of North America. And as it sank, it scraped off everything riding on top of it. Island chains, undersea volcanoes, slabs of deep sea floor, and welded them onto the continent one piece at a time. Geologists call these fragments terranes, and California is a patchwork of them, a collage of drowned islands and crushed ocean floor stitched together over eons. The gold in its rivers, the rock in its mountains. Whole regions of the state were born somewhere else and rafted in. And once you see it that way, the whole place reorganizes in your mind. It isn't just a coastline. It's the wreckage of ancient worlds, still moving, still assembling, still tearing itself apart under our feet. That's ancient California, a land so old and so restless we mistook it for scenery. If one of these facts rearranged how you see the place, tell me which one in the comments. And if you want more of America hiding in plain sight, I've already pulled apart the Everglades and the Grand Canyon. Both are on screen now. Go dig in.